Hello, Black Women Be Well family. It's your girl, Jennifer Tomlinson, host and creator of the Black Women Be Well podcast. And welcome to a very special season 2 finale episode. Now, unfortunately, we are ending our season early because our studio is still closed. And more importantly, we are trying to do our best to socially distance and to stay our asses at home. So we made a decision to stop the season early, and season 3 will be back in August. And what we'll do over the summer is try to post more video content from our homes and stuff to our YouTube channel. So if you have not subscribed yet, please subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay in contact. But let me stop talking shop, and I want to introduce the team that's joining me today virtually. Say hi, everybody.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi.
For those that don't know, this is the Black Women Be Well team. We have Shania Whitfield. She is the lead technical producer and intern manager in the house. Whoop, whoop, from the beginning.
Hello.
You know what I'm saying? Much love for you. We have Kenrick Daniel, who is the assistant video editor, holding it down with our video content. Yes, and last but not least, Mr. Lion Lambie, who is my new assistant producer.
Bless up.
And interestingly enough, Lion is actually the producer for today's show. I didn't have to do much of anything, you know what I'm saying? And we're excited because today's episode is going to be more lighthearted, more fun, and hopefully get to learn more about the team, and we'll have a good time recapping the season together. So let us listen, learn, and be well in this episode. So go ahead, Lion, take it away.
Thank you, Jen. Appreciate it. So like Jen said, today's show is going to be a lighthearted show. So, we just gonna keep in the spirit of just being at home, quarantine, everything just seemed to be so serious. So we're just gonna go around and just ask a bunch of questions and see how everybody feel before we jump into the clips.
Now I'm nervous about these questions, so for our viewers, you need to be nervous too. But let's try this out.
All right, well look, let's mix it up. Okay, so look, this is how we're gonna do it. So we'll start with you, Jennifer. We'll start with you. I'll ask you this question. Do you want to start from the first question or the last question?
I'll do the last question.
Okay. So this is for everybody, but we'll start with Jennifer. Should single people give relationship advice to people in relationships?
I don't know if I should, but I do it all the time. And I don't give advice unless I'm asked. So people ask me all the time. I don't know why, but maybe it's more like don't do what I do or don't do what I did. I don't know, so I don't know if I should, but I do it all the time.
Okay. What about you? Let's go around. Let's start with Shania.
For me? Sorry.
Yeah, what you think?
I'm with Jen on that one. It's not that I don't think that they should, because some single people have been in relationships, so I feel like it's helpful, but I used to get asked a lot of questions when I was a teenager, etc., and having no experience, so I don't know if I should really speak on it, but I guess I'll speak on it anyway, just cause. So yeah, that's how I feel about that.
So how do you feel about people that give you advice about your own relationship?
Well, if I ask. If it's if it's unwarranted advice, I'm just that type of person that if I didn't ask you, I really don't want to hear it. So yeah. I don't feel like they're invalid just because they're single.
Yeah. My viewpoint on it is that single people, yeah, they're single, you're in a relationship, they're not, but that doesn't literally mean anything, because they could be single because they were in a toxic relationship. So you don't know the reason they're single. They could be single amongst of them, or the other significant other. But I would say a person who's been in a relationship has that experience. Let's say it's your first relationship. The single person can be on their like third. Sometimes it's just not the right person. So with that experience, they know what to look for. Okay, well, I know that these things work in a relationship. These things, bring issues to a relationship, and every relationship's different, but, they have that experience under their belt and have knowledge, they're wiser because they've been through those trials and tribulations to, how parents are like, oh, don't do this because they're speaking from a place of experience, but, they're kids, they're gonna want to experience it on their own. But it's unless it's like you said, if it's asked type of tips, then yeah, it doesn't matter. But like if you're over here trying to tell people, oh yeah, you're doing this wrong, this, that, and the third, like stay in your lane unless you're asked for.
Okay, so
Okay.
I like what everybody said, but I disagree. I feel like if you're in a relationship, then you don't have I feel like you're outdated and you really don't have what's needed to help a single person maneuver through the single world anymore, just because that world is forever changing. And I feel like it's vice versa. Same thing. If you was in a relationship, it don't matter how many relationships you was in. If you're not in a relationship right now, you don't know how to currently deal with a relationship right now. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I kind of feel about it. So I feel like if you're in a relationship and a single person asks you for advice on dating and being single, dating, then you should definitely be like, I'm the wrong person to ask about that. But if you're not, and somebody in a relationship asks you for relationship advice and you're not in a relationship, even though you had many relationships, you're probably still not qualified to give relationship advice.
I mean,
do we know that we will not give you any? Well, I will not give you. I'm not in a relationship in a minute.
We'll be abstaining.
Yes.
Oh man, that's so good. All right, so Shania, do you want the question from the top or the question from the bottom?
I'll say top.
Okay. Do you think it's okay to fart in public?
I mean, it's a bodily function, yeah. I mean, either way, like even if you have to reserve yourself, you're like going into like let's say you're embarrassed to fart in a room, you would still have to go fart in a bathroom, which is in a public setting. So either way, you're not winning. So I don't feel like you should.
There's like clarifying questions because clearly people are farting. You mean like an out loud type of a fart? Like you can feel it coming and you like, wait a minute.
Like, should I like hold it and walk somewhere else?
Yeah, to Shania's point, what you gonna do? How you gonna hold it in? That's bad for your insides.
It really is. That'll backfire later.
What you think, Karen? What you think?
I mean, what people gonna do? You fart in public, what, they gonna fight you, arrest you? Like, hey, it's my body.
Kendrick the type to go like, be like real ninja about it. Like,
yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna like,
hands in his pocket, like,
I'll ease it out, one squirt at a time, but but hey, I'm low key about it. But you smell something, oh well, you just gonna have to smell it.
I feel like Jen's the type of person that'll fart and then like blame it on the lightest person in the room.
Me? Me? That would be me. I'm always the lightest person in the room.
So that answer backfired because it would just be her.
Right. I'd be like, well, I guess I'm the Drake of this space.
All right, moving on. Hey, Kendrick, so what would you like? Would you like something from the top or the bottom, my brother?
Bottom.
All right. What, when it comes to discussions between you and the opposite sex, what conversations make you feel uncomfortable?
What conversations make me feel uncomfortable between me and the opposite sex?
Yeah, what subjects make you feel
I'm
uncomfortable?
curious.
Right. Not any really. Yeah, none really. Like I'm the type of guy who could have a intellectually stimulating conversation about really much anything, whether we agree or disagree, whether it's about something serious or not. It's like people need to be able to have conversations that are sensitive topics, especially with the opposite sex. There's really nothing really that's like ooh, let me make sure I don't bring this up,
Wait a
other
minute.
than
There's
that.
never been something a girl has said that you've been like, I don't want to hear that.
I mean, unless you said something like gross, but like nothing that's like, ooh, I feel uncomfortable talking about this. It's like
What would be gross?
talk your stuff.
Bodily functions, probably.
Yeah, like I have a weak stomach, so like when they talk about like menstrual cycles and stuff, it's like I have a weak stomach naturally, so it's not like
There we go.
it's menstrual.
I was waiting for it.
Like I don't mind.
That
Like, in a normal situation, I wouldn't mind talking about it. It's just that like I can't even handle like someone throwing up, so it's like that's just a natural type, you know. I get queasy type stuff. So like, let's say a guy, if guys could have menstrual cycles, I wouldn't want to hear from them either.
we could tell you what it really feels like to be a woman, and we could tell you what it really feels like to be a woman, and you would probably pass out. What you gonna do when you got a wife or whatever? And she'd be like, "Babe,
For real.
this what happened."
Because you're going to have to. It's going
I mean,
down,
if it's occurring, like, it's occurring. I mean, I've been in previous relationships before where it's happened. It's like it's nothing, but it's just like, do you got to tell me the properties of it? Do you got to tell me the physical composition of how it flows out and
the
the smell of it?
What
it's
comes
like,
out? Yeah. If it's happening to me, it's
like,
happening
why
to
do
you
I
too.
why
I'm sorry, the word composition took me out. The composition.
Yeah, like, do I need to know the chemical makeup of like how it's gelatinous and what am I gaining from that knowledge? Is like, yeah, okay, cool.
Knowledge.
Because I want
It's just like
the person
not
to
uncomfortable.
know
Like, oh,
what we go through.
no, it's cool to know that y'all go through that. I'm aware, but like when you get explicit about it, I can like, okay, female cycle period. I'm cool, but when you tell me what it looks like, the discharge, all this other stuff, I'm like, okay, like I'm a queasy type of guy, I'm not, yeah. So it's just not being that it's a female and her menstrual cycle. It's just that like I'm a queasy person as it is. So any type of graphic type stuff will get to me. So
I feel you, Kendrick. I'm just giving you a hard time.
I know you are. I'm just making sure I explain myself for the viewers. I'm trying to have people attack me.
What you think? What's something that what's a subject that makes you feel uncomfortable?
Who?
Jen?
Me?
Yes.
Oh, I don't like talking about sex. that growing up Jamaican and conservative and religious, I don't know how to just So when if a guy talks to me, he's like off the bat like, the things I want to do with you, I'm be like, yeah, that's not gonna work because I don't even know what that is, sir. So go ahead and block this number now. It's just not gonna work. So I don't even use like the real name parts. Like I'm like a 2-year-old when I describe parts. I don't. Yeah. So that was the shame that was built into me from my old Jamaican mother.
You better keep your legs closed. Keep them crossed.
Yeah. Like that. Just like that. Just like that.
Same inflection and everything.
I don't even think I said the word boy and friend in the same sentence till I was like 21 with her.
Oh my God.
It was like no talk to boys my whole life, and then like I hit like late 20s, and she's like, "Why aren't you like married?" Because you told me not to date my whole life. Like you literally told me not to date my whole life, and I don't know. Like, what did you expect was gonna happen? Jamaican parents is crazy. You're supposed to be virginal up until a point, just miraculously somehow be in a relationship.
That's a whole topic within itself. Oh, I can.
Real.
I can see some facts on
That
that.
definitely is a whole topic in itself. What's up with you, Shania? What's the do you still what subject does that to you? Makes you feel uncomfortable?
Mine's gonna be like just so me of a response, but I think like dealing with like gender roles in general, like gender roles like between like men and women and all of that makes me uncomfortable because like I know that I have a different viewpoint than most people on it, and so especially like when it comes to like working in the industry and working in general, like it makes me uncomfortable to have conversations with those people that I know that aren't going to listen to what I have to say, especially men. So I just abstain from having those kind of conversations. So yeah, that genuinely makes me uncomfortable because I'm like, I don't even want to have to explain it to you because I feel like it's so self-explanatory and so simple, and yet you don't want to open up your mind to what I'm saying. So
do you get frustrated? Like, does it make you angry? And that's why
I'm literally getting angry talking about it right now.
You can see, we could tell.
Relax.
Agitated
She was
right
like,
now.
no, she was like this.
Yeah. This is like the third question. Hold on.
My face, you can't see them, but my face went like this underneath the desk. Yeah, like
I'm gonna stop.
Huh?
No, I was gonna say you'd be like, I'm gonna stop talking before I punch you in the face.
I'm having conversations with people in like lectures and stuff like that, like my first couple of years of college, because I would get so heated, and they would be like, "Oh, it's just a joke. We're just joking around." Like, no, like I take it seriously. Like I don't find it funny. Like I'm also like a serious person in that regard. Like my mind can't joke about things like that. I don't know why. Like I grew up in a very female oriented household, and so it genuinely pisses me off when people don't understand that and when people can't give women the same respect, and I just makes me uncomfortable to talk to men like that. I just can't. I can't even be nice.
That's a whole episode too, because Black women, when you grow up in female-led holds, it's crazy because you have to be you're reinforced with traditional gender roles, but also you still have to like be everything to everybody. So like Black women have never really been able to fit that archetype anyways, and yet we're still held to that standard in some regards. So that's like a whole episode too, how gender roles just don't fit the same for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Never has. But yeah.
So how has that, do you feel like that strengthened you, Shania? Or do you feel like it's a pro, like having to have been in those spaces and deal with those type of people, or do you feel like it's
I
kind of like
definitely feel like it's a
annoying?
pro. I
Okay.
definitely feel like it's a pro. It's opened me up to learning different things, but I also feel like me not being able to have those conversations is like a big downfall of mine, because like I feel like if I was nicer and if I was more open about it, like talking with people like that, like maybe I would be able to see their point of view, but like it just like there's just some switch in my mind that's just like, yeah, no, I'm not going there. I'm not going there with you. Google's
Yeah.
free. I'm not doing it. Not today. I'm sorry. Like I just can't.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's definitely helped me become the woman I am today. I wouldn't change anything about my experience at all. So that was supposed to be funny, but it wasn't. Sorry. It's supposed to be lighthearted.
No, it's okay.
We getting to
It's
know you.
okay.
That's
Like
what
we
the
need.
point
This
is.
is about getting to know everybody, you know. And we just need to know. Like we need to know. You know what I mean? People need to know. Like, and I need to know too, because I just be flying off the handle with my mouthpiece sometimes, and I need to know, like, hey, this is a boundary for me. You know what I'm saying? Definitely. So we started with clips. So to segue into the next part of our show, we're gonna go directly into one of the clips, and we're gonna start off with Shania. Are you okay with that? Start off with
Yeah,
you.
that's fine.
We're gonna start off with your clip, and basically these clips are just to recap and to summarize some and to highlight some of the most inaugural parts of the season. Shania.
Okay. So I'm going to be talking about the most recent episode, which was SIS, the Sisters in Solidarity. I mean, it relates to me a lot in the regard of having family members and people a part of my life that I feel like have to become a part in order to be involved in my life, have to join me in solidarity and becoming it, because I am a Black woman and have to understand everything that I go through and have to understand what everybody like me goes through. And I feel like a huge part of that as well is me not tolerating people that aren't like that in my life, just because I don't have room for that. I don't have room for people that aren't going to be understanding, aren't going to like pay respect to the people in my life. So this episode was really important to me in that regard, but I want to share the clip. You guys were talking about owning up and apologizing as white people and just like knowing and recognizing the hurt that they have caused to, POCs and Black women. And it's just so important for that conversation, for somebody to say they're sorry is just so much more powerful than I think that they realize. And just owning up to like how just like the smallest gesture can go a long way. And that's all we really ask for most of the time, is just for you to recognize your white privilege and where your ancestors have come from and how they've disenfranchised our whole being, our whole people, everything. And so just saying you're sorry and recognizing your faults is just so important. And so I'm just going to play the clip now.
Injustice.
Absolutely.
And so, you don't have
the answer. I don't have the answer.
No, but I should say, because you just, I should say I'm sorry for the ways in which I've taken part in any kind of racial injustice throughout my life, because you're sitting here in front of me saying, white women need to acknowledge and apologize. And so let me, because there have been times where I've heard a racial slur or a statement, especially in high school and college. And sometimes I would address it and sometimes I wouldn't. Sometimes I would just, not be friends with that person, but not engage them and fight for the African American community.
Mm.
And so I'm sorry.
And that, like, just the I'm sorry can just, it just touch. I don't know, like, I felt like that was like, it was a genuine I'm sorry. It wasn't like just like a passive aggressive I'm sorry. Like, you understand the trouble, like you understand your past and you're trying to improve your future. Like I feel like that's really important. And like no matter how long it takes you to get to that journey, as long as you're recognizing your faults, that's what's important. So I thought that that was a really good point. And then a little bit later, you guys also, Jen, you said stand up for us when we're not in the room was really important. And like standing up for Black women, even when you're not there. Like it's so easy to just go ahead and let people talk, and you don't want to get involved because you don't want to say anything, or you don't want to come off a certain way to people, or whatever the case may be. But it's like, it's just standing up for us when we're not around is even more important than just being passive in every situation. Because if you're just passive, you're just letting it happen. Like you're just as wrong as the person that's saying it. And it's a big issue that people need to realize. And you're not trying to, and I feel like people always think, especially of Black women, that we're just always trying to like hurt someone, or, you know, like trying to be aggressive for no reason. And we always just come off that way to people, but we just want to be understood. We want to be heard, and we want to have the same respect that everybody else has. Like, I don't understand why it's such a problem for people. Mm-hmm. When people, like when we stand up for ourselves, it's such a problem for everyone. So
yeah,
that's,
and the thing about the apology thing, it's so difficult for white people to say I'm sorry. And I don't know, I've been in a lot of diversity groups and trainings and inclusion groups, and it's just this really difficult process for them to say, though, I am sorry for whatever. And I think because saying you're sorry results in you having to admit to something, and there's a lot of reasons why someone that is of a white background might not want to admit, like, well, I don't want to take ownership for the things that my great-great-grandfather did. It's, you know, or they want to disconnect themselves from it. Or if they genuinely just don't want to be immediately judged by saying, yeah, I admit that I, you know, do this. And so for her to say that on the episode, I was tremendously grateful, because she didn't have to. I didn't ask for it.
wasn't at all.
I didn't even ask for it. She just said, and then she's like, let me say it, you know? And then even the following moment where I had to admit that when people apologize to me, I overcompensate and try to make them feel comfortable. And that's like, I try to protect her. I don't like, and us even unpacking that together. Why do I do that? And, you know, so that was a very powerful moment, and why I'm grateful that she came on the show for us to like demonstrate what that looks like, so people aren't so scared to say I'm sorry. And then when somebody does say they're sorry, you don't have to immediately respond with, well, that's why you should have said it, or whatever. You know, you can just have a moment and have the moment. So
I like how it was taken in, though, because it was like, you know, usually when you hear, it was crazy, because it was like, usually when you hear someone apologize and they say I'm sorry, you didn't just accept it. Like, you basically stated, and you set your boundary of how you would like an apology to be given to you, and what you found, and what you found meant the most. And just basically being direct, you know what I mean? And how you like it, like, okay, well, I need to forgive in for this, you know what I mean? And it was like, yeah, I accepted what you said. This is what matters this is how you're gonna reach, you know what I mean, me. And I feel like that was fire.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't know how to actually apologize. And I wanted to acknowledge what she did, which was tremendous, to say those words. It was big. But a lot of us don't know what forgiveness really is. And the act of saying, I am sorry, is a personal process, and it's a personal feeling. And I think you should, you know, do that and have that moment. But it doesn't allow the other person to actually participate in the process. And in fact, sorries become burdens for Black women, because we will try and create the safe space, like, well, you don't have to apologize, or thank you so much for apologizing. It doesn't turn into this restoration process. Well, forgive me for, and here's how I can restore what I did to you. You don't have that with the I'm sorry process. So It's not her fault. None of us know how. I just learned how to do that last year, so none of us really know that.
How has that changed the game for you?
Oh, first of all, I don't accept just anything from anybody. So my ex was sniffing around me, talking about, I'm sorry. And, I said, well, that's not good enough, because I know what an actual apology is. And it makes me think about how when people come to me saying you wronged me this way, I know now like what it actually means to think of the other person in the apology instead of just thinking about my own feelings, So it's really changed me. And I'll say this too. Oh, that's a whole nother episode. No, I won't even bring that up.
Give a little taste. Kendrick, you got anything to add?
Sorries are pathways to uncontrolled emotions. And the worst thing you can do to a woman of color is burden them with tears in a moment that's supposed to be about them.
Amen.
So when white women start saying, I'm sorry, and the tears are coming out, and it's like, okay, now it becomes my management to manage your tears. And I don't think people realize how much space white tears occupies in a room and an environment. And so the I'm sorry that's coming from their place is then coupled with the tears. It does nothing for the other person. And that, that's a whole nother, like I said, that's a whole nother topic. And it's also why now, when that's in front of me now, I know how to manage it much better, because the empath in me wants to protect them. And then I lose myself in the process. It's no longer about me. It's about me helping them feel good about or better about their process. And now I know better. Like when an apology is supposed to be for me, I know how to own it now and ask for what I actually want.
Wow, that's awesome.
For the vision board, that was really something I've been wanting to do, is start writing down stuff. I wanted a whiteboard to start, in a calendar to start jotting down stuff that comes up, plans I have, stuff that I want to do. And one thing I like that you said was that, like, if you didn't write this down, you would have thought that you failed, but you went back and looked at it and you're like, well, apply for 5 jobs. I did that. Write my book. I did that. All these things you've done. It's like you had goals that you thought were, pretty strenuous or tedious to achieve, but you wrote them down. And then as you were moving out through life, you were accomplishing these goals. And that's honestly like something that a lot of people struggle to do. And I know that writing it down and having something, a reminder, because we always have daily distractions that, give you off track of, your career goals or your life goals. So having that constant visual reminder will keep you focused on, the stuff you need to do. So you're like, okay, well, I'm working on this. Oh, this looks kind of good. Let me start working on this. But wait, this is what I actually need to focus on. So let me get back on top of, my P's and Q's of what I need to do. So I really like that you were able to visually see the accomplishments that you achieved throughout the year. And, you got something to reflect on so you can, move forward and, okay, well, the things that I thought that were impossible, I made possible. So let me continue this, this repertoire of, just achieving and like, proper planning and, striving for, what you want in life. Because there's certain things for certain people that are, difficult for them, more difficult for them than, for others. But if you just really devote your, it's like writing your own story. You gotta, plan before, you actually start writing. And once you have your ideas and jot your thoughts of what you want to write about, then you start writing. And then you start, okay, this is what I want to write about here. I'll write that down. I want to write this, talk about this. And you reread, you proofread, and you got all your ideas that you, wanted to discuss. And then in your conclusion, you just, okay, well, this is all the stuff I wanted to do. This is what, I got accomplished. And then you have your whole life story, per se, from your pre-planning that you've done, you know, written down. That was
Karen,
my
thanks for sharing that.
analysis.
Thanks for sharing that.
Mhm.
I guess it's like, I feel like it was a lot of impactful things that you said about that episode. I guess what you was talking about, how it directly related to you. So like what was like the thing what was the part that, as part as the vision board, as far as that structure go, what was it that you felt like was like the most eye-opening part of it? Like what was like the most eye-opening section out of that you was just like, man, I already do this, or I don't do this, and I want to incorporate it.
Like I said before, the being able to look back on what you've done, I think that's like, a really nice feeling. I'm pretty sure you had like a
I agree.
nice achieving type feeling of like, okay, I had goals at the beginning of the year that I wanted to accomplish, and it's at the end of the year, and you look at everything, and it's like, well, damn, I just did everything that I wanted to do. And I know that feeling of wanting something and then actually achieving it is a good feeling. You're cooking this meal, you've been wanting to make it, and you finally make it, and it turns out exactly how you wanted, and it's a really good feeling. So I know the feeling of accomplishing something that you've been planning for and that you've really been fiending for. So I think that's the most eye-opening and awakening takeaway.
And it's a reflective process. So you use it to look at what you've done, even if it doesn't match on the board. And I think that's the biggest life lesson is you forget to check off the things you have done if you're so hyper focused on the things that you want. And so like at the end, the board, it might look like you might think, well, I didn't do any of this stuff on the board, but you have to reflect on it and be like, oh, well, I did do a lot, or I went on this path instead of that path. So remembering to acknowledge the things you have done, even if your goals are different, the end result is different from where you started at.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I like that. Jen, have you ever set a goal, right? Met a goal and realized, and kind of like felt like, man, that was a trashy goal to set to meet. Like, have you ever set a goal and as soon as you met it was like, man, like, why did I even set this as a goal? Like, have you ever felt like that?
No, my goals have always been, I guess, very aspirational. Maybe I've always aimed high because I've never felt like, okay. No, let me correct that. I've set goals that I thought were hard, and then I was like, why didn't I do that sooner? Like I've had that before. Like things I thought would have taken me a long time or were like really difficult. And then you end up doing it and like, wow, I can't believe that was that easy. Why didn't I just do that earlier? Why was I so freaked out about it? Yeah, that's happened to me before. It's happened to me like I've set goals to travel certain places, and I always think like this is financially impossible, but you plan it out and you can save enough money to do it. You just got to do it, or I don't want to go to school full time and work and do this. I mean, even starting this podcast was a 3-year procrastination because I thought it would be difficult. And then one day I just did it, and my sister introduced me to Shania, and before we knew it, I was crying, like, I can't believe we have our first episode. Like, and I don't know why I thought it was so, I mean, it's a lot of work, but you just gotta man up and just, I had to stop every once in a while I remind myself, don't be lazy. Just put in the effort. If you put in the effort and the time, you can make things happen, you know.
Do you have anything to add, Shania?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I agree with everything. I'm definitely I mean, after meeting Jen, she's really like taught me the importance of like making checklists for myself and make sure that I'm following through with everything that I like, because I would tell her all the things that I just want to do and like things that I just want to start, and she'd be like, okay, when are you gonna start it? When are you gonna plan out how you're gonna do things? And I feel like that's helped me significantly. And like I even have like like I take notes now, like just when I'm doing like minimal tasks. Like I love post-it notes now. Like I feel like that's like the impact that she's had on me in order to like make sure that my dreams and like all the things that I want to achieve are like getting there. Because like if I don't, like I'm just not gonna hold myself accountable. And I feel like that's so important. And like I've genuinely like I've known that that's something that I should do, but I haven't put it into action until I met Jen. So yeah, a little shout out to you, Jen, because you've taught me a lot over like these past couple of years, and like learning to hold myself accountable.
It's been a great partnership. We've really been growing with each other.
Bless up, bless up. This video I chose, our preview was just one of the guys, part 2. And it was so many different things in there to pull out, so many different clips, wonderful clips, a lot of different subjects to talk about. This particular subject, I'm gonna just play the clip and then we can.
In person.
Yeah.
If you are raised in a household though where you've never had normal or decent relationships, like you saw your parents argue that way, you yourself with your siblings argue that way, you don't like, who's going to teach a woman, you know, how to have discourse and but still have honor?
I feel like it falls in line with the idea of what men, the illusion that men carry on too. You know, I know you said that like who's there to teach a woman, but at the same time, it's like I grew up in a 2-parent household, and so when the things that my parents did behind closed door, I never understood how they were able to be good in front of everybody and in front of us. So it was just like whenever we, so as I'm going through my life and I'm choosing relationships, I'm like really looking for that same kind of thing, not knowing that that's really kind of the illusion that's up, that it's a lot of work that goes into that for. So that's why I feel like that directly related to me, and I feel like I understood, and I feel like the viewers, male viewers, will definitely understand on the same token of that. Just that you have to understand where people are coming from. So you have to understand the other person, where they're coming from, and then where you're coming from. And then if you can all find that understanding, that kind of creates some kind of empathy between you and the person that you're sharing a space or a relationship with. So definitely, I definitely like that clip. I like that sparked something.
So that clip, yeah, I don't even know. I don't remember what we were talking to even get to that point of the conversation. But it was just kind of, I know I was responding to something I think Jonathan had said, so that he could understand like the female perspective, like the source that we come from sometimes in relationships, you know, and that, because, you know, we're not all just crazy because we're crazy or we're Black women and that makes us crazy. I mean, sometimes you just don't know what you don't know. If you don't know how to honor a man because you've never seen it in your house, or all your relationships from family relationships have always been toxic. I mean, how are you supposed to be just automatically in a healthy relationship, you know? And sometimes guys, they don't really see it that way, and so they don't give us a little bit of grace. Like, I know why you treat me like that, because you don't really know how to love, instead of you're batshit crazy. There's it's a different, coming from a place,
I mean, I agree. I feel like it takes a certain emotional intelligence to understand that as well. Like to be able to step outside from yourself and realize that not all people come from the same background and have the same upbringing and are able to have those conversations. And some people do. And some people are blessed with having situations where their parents and their upbringing has been very transparent to the point where they're able to see it in other people. But I think that's also you wanting to understand your partner and you wanting to take the time out to understand where they come from. And that is from a foundational point of view. And like you believing that you need to build that in order to have a lasting relationship. So I feel like some people just don't want to lay the groundwork sometimes, and they don't want to do that. They don't want to take that step. And that's why it doesn't happen. And that's why you just result to calling people crazy. You result to not understanding.
I agree, but I ain't going to throw too much of my personal life. But I do agree. I ain't going to put my business out there.
Oh.
Hey, like the last episode, your stories, you protect your stories.
So they're not used as tools.
Yeah.
There you go. So I just want to say thank you guys for scouring the past episodes, especially Lion, because he had to really do the research and like pick out which videos he wanted you guys to review, and then for you guys to sit down, re-listen, and not just listen for the sake of editing, but like listen for the content and personalizing it. I really do appreciate that. And I have a feeling our viewers are going to appreciate it too. And so with that being said, I just want to give my final shout out to Shania, Kenrick, and Lion. I love you guys, and thanks for being a part of the team. And we are done with season 2 of Black Women Be Well. Yay! Can we insert that clapping noise here? And everybody that's listening, please do not forget to follow us on social media. Hit us up on Instagram at Be Woman Be Well. That's the letter B, woman, letter Be Well. And then you can also follow us on Facebook at the same Be Woman Be Well, or YouTube Black Woman Be Well. All that stuff is also available on our website, blackwomanbewell.com. And listen to an episode, share, comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we'll see you in August. Hi, podcast fam. Thanks for watching this latest episode of Black Women Be Well. Make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more podcast episodes and for exclusive video content. Also, if you really thought this conversation was beneficial, please share it. I know our show is called Black Women Be Well, but it's not just for Black women, it's just our stories and perspective. So if you know anyone that's interested in being an advocate or ally for Black women who want to learn and want to grow, tell them about this episode and tell them about the show. And like always, be well.